What's good, super friends? It's your tío Pepe from the mean streets of Sunland Park. Hey, dice el feo que quiere 3 de tripitas y 3 de buche. Sorry about that. Doing my little side hustle here. I've always had the reputation of being the cool uncle. You know, the one that lets you taste his old cough syrup when mom and dad aren't looking. So I always hook you up. I'm back to hook you up again, fam. For only $2 a month, you can skip these annoying ads and get our episodes ad-free and a week early. You'll also be the first to know when I release my MFTs. You've heard of NFTs? These are MFTs, baby. Mexican fungible tokens, vato. The first ones of Rocky Estar y Super Muñeco will be out soon. Shoot me a DM on the DL. Ain't none of Isela and Elena's business, if you know what I mean. We'll also send you stickers a few times a year and shout you out on our show. Link is in the show notes, or check us out on patreon.com/technicallyaconversation.
Baby Reindeer is a compelling story of the hit 2019 Edinburgh Fringe one-man play that also goes by the same name, Baby Reindeer. It follows the writer and performer RIchard Gadd's warped relationship with a female friend turned stalker, and the impact it has on him and his deep, dark, buried trauma. This critically acclaimed hit series seems to be what everyone is talking about nowadays because of how incredibly ridiculous the facts seem to be. Join us on this journey as we discuss the show, uncover some of its secrets, and meet the real stalker behind all the chaos on Technically a Conversation. Greetings, you're listening to Technically a Conversation, a podcast where we share an interesting topic or story with each other in the hopes you also find it interesting. I'm 1/3 of your hosts, Elena, and I'm joined, as always, by my baby reindeer, Jose. How's everything going?
Going great. Just being a baby reindeer.
Awesome. Do you even know what that means?
I have no idea.
Awesome.
How's everything going with you?
Okay. Just, I know I've been a little MIA, had a couple of personal issues happen, one right after the other. So now I'm back and I feel like I'm a rookie and I don't know what I'm doing.
That's okay. I feel like that won't record any episode, so you're good.
And how are you doing?
Again, I'm doing fine. Spent half of my vacation due to your personal issues. I think we said in the episode that you were out on assignment.
Okay. Yes, I was gathering data and interviewing people. No, I mean, if you guys follow my socials, you'll know 2 things happened to me. There's actually 3 things, but I didn't document the third because I was too devastated about the first one. So I lost my dog of almost 19 years, which is going to make me cry. Next, my refrigerator stopped working, so I had to get a new one, and I don't want to cry. Okay, let me stop.
Yeah, I know. Losing a refrigerator, it's really tough.
It was. I also had the refrigerator for 17 years, so. My dog, of course, longer. And then I was in the hospital. So that was my May. Very eventful.
And that's where I spent half of my vacation, being in there in the hospital with you, so...
Yes, I appreciate it.
But the first half was good because I got to meet up with my good pal, Brian. Do you remember Brian?
Of course I do.
I mean, that guy's like a brother to me. I mean, he pretty much practically lived with us. He was always there when we were growing up.
Always there.
He was always there, yeah. I hadn't seen him in a few years, so it was nice to catch up and hang out and everything and cause trouble just like we used to when we were younger.
That's awesome. It's always great to catch up with old friends like that, especially when you haven't seen them in a really long time. And then it's almost like you just pick up where you left off.
Yeah, for the most part.
It's not like you're having these uncomfortable silences, right?
Well, I have uncomfortable silences with anybody I speak to, so that never goes away. But yeah, I mean, we pretty much picked up where we left off. You're right.
Yeah, that's good. That's when you know it's like a solid friendship.
For sure.
So originally, I had started writing this before Mother's Day. And right after Eurovision, which was my last topic. And if you guys didn't listen to that, go ahead and listen to it, not on YouTube, because YouTube banned it in most countries. But just in case you guys didn't tune in, the winner was some guy named Nemo and not the fish, obviously.
Damn, that's who I was going for.
I know, right? He was from Switzerland and the song was called The Code. And it wasn't one of the songs that I had played in I think the 15 or whatever clips that I had chosen that, the songs that I liked personally. But the runner-up was Baby Lasagna with Rim Tim Tuggy Dim, which was one of my favorites.
How can we forget Lim Tim Tuggy Dim?
Exactly. And I'm not going to go too much into this, but Irma and I were catching up on all things Eurovision after the finale. And she was telling me that it was a big clusterfuck and that everybody's still talking about it on the Reddit. And it was just crazy that she says she's never seen anything like that before. They banned flags from the show because they didn't want people to bring pro-Palestine flags. They didn't want it to be political.
Oh, okay.
And there were some singers that dropped out of the rehearsal before the actual contest. Some singers just decided, or performers decided just not to show up because of them allowing Israel to be a part of the contest. And some guy broke out into a speech about peace instead of doing his performance during rehearsals, which is a huge no-no. So it was just crazy. Also, the math scores were not mathing. And there was some tranzas that were going on, and some of the countries were voting for themselves when they're not supposed to. It was just a big clusterfuck, and people are still talking about it nowadays, apparently.
Fun.
Yeah. All right. Enough about those shenanigans. Jose, are you ready for today's topic?
I am ready.
Today's topic is brought to you by Netflix. No, I'm just kidding. I wish. First off, though, I do have a Netflix account. I do love me to Netflix and chill. Ever since they got all strict with that password sharing, I had to come up with a way to be able to do my Netflix and chill. And so I got on that T-Mobile plan that allows me to have it on them, supposedly. And I've binged a bunch of shows on there. I don't know about you. Have you ever binged anything on Netflix? I know that we talked about it on Mother's Day that you don't have it.
Yeah, no, I don't use Netflix regularly. The account that I do use occasionally is my dad's account. But I don't know if you remember at that time, everybody was using my dad's account and only 2 people could be on there at one time. So usually you were on there. And if anybody else was on there, we couldn't watch anything. So, there were a few things that I did binge watch. I definitely binge watched Lucifer, The Sandman, The Magicians. But when I was trying to watch The Magicians, I got frustrated because you and somebody else was always on there. So I actually just went and I bought it on Vudu.
Oh, sorry.
I binge watched a lot of the Arrowverse because I kind of started late. I kind of started around the time, well, it was right before they did the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, because that's when I found out that Batwoman was going to be a part of it. So I was like, fuck, I need to catch up on this shit.
Yeah.
So I also attempted to binge watch it during that time, but you and someone else were always on there. So actually at that time I signed up for my own Netflix account. That way I could just binge watch it under my name. But that's about it. I've never watched any of the originals aside from maybe like Lucifer and The Sandman. And I don't watch it regularly. What I do watch regularly is YouTube. I usually just go on there and just binge watch stuff on there.
Yeah. Well, I do like to watch a lot of their Netflix series or brought to you by Netflix, whatever. And I just asked you earlier if you had heard of Baby Reindeer, which I'm surprised you haven't, even with all the YouTubes and stuff that you watch.
No, the only thing that I ever really watch is General Hospital right now because I normally don't have time for anything else. So unless it comes out in General Hospital, I probably don't know something exists.
Well, it's all the rage right now. People just can't stop talking about it. Since I like to get my news from the Daily Mail, which I know is a tabloid, I realize that this show is receiving a lot of traction. Baby Reindeer is a literal mindfuck. It was highly recommended to me by a friend of mine, Cassie, and I'm sure glad that I watched it. I think that what people are most interested in is that this show is a true story. According to the creator, RIchard Gadd, it's not loosely based on facts, but it's all fact with the exception of changing a couple of things here and there to add dramatization. But what's the difference, right?
I guess it just depends on how much you actually change. Like if it's the Exorcist where they changed everything pretty much, then I mean, I think that they took a lot of creative licenses on that.
Yeah, well, that one, I guess, is considered loosely based on a true story. On this one, he says it is a true story.
Yeah, no, I still have not heard of Baby Reindeer.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and most of the stuff I watch on YouTube, it's usually, I watch a lot of bullshit. So I watch people reviewing like old video games or reviewing like toys, usually like action figures and shit like that. Like I don't watch them reviewing like baby toys or anything or baby reindeer toys, but I usually watch people reviewing action figures, comic books. I like to watch people cleaning carpets for some reason. It's like strangely therapeutic.
Yes, it is pretty satisfying. I like to watch people clean.
Oh, and of course, music. I watch a lot of music videos on there.
Well, I think when I tell you the details about this show, this series, and also, because it's based on a true story, I think you're going to freak. And maybe you might want to watch it after this.
And maybe I might want to do the true story behind the baby reindeer.
Well, that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, too.
Oh, okay, cool. Those are always my favorite.
Yeah, so I don't know about you, but whenever I watch anything that is based on a true story, I right away look it up to see how much is fact or fiction, how much of it was embellished. At first, I was having a hard time finding things because apparently this guy, RIchard Gadd, didn't want people figuring out who the real life characters are. But you know how relentless people can be. If people are going to go digging in your business, they will eventually find the truth. And I'm so glad that people did not disappoint because that means that I didn't have to do hundreds of hours of research. They did it for me. Since you don't know what baby reindeer is, and for those of you super friends who don't know what it is, I'm going to go ahead and explain it to you.
It's about a baby reindeer.
No, not quite.
Oh, okay.
According to Wikipedia, my favorite source, Baby Reindeer is a British black comedy drama thriller that was created, written, and starred RIchard Gadd, a Scottish comedian, writer, and actor. It is based on his one-man show, also titled Baby Reindeer, of his real-life experiences. It's a mini-series, so it's only 7 episodes, so you don't have to binge very long, and it's received a strong viewership and critical acclaim. I tried locating the actual one-man show of his online, but I was having a hard time because since it's a European show, I just couldn't find it. I could find like maybe small clips here and there, and I don't even think they're from that actual one-man show. I think they were just clips of him in his early years. But I did find some of those clips, which I'm going to link in the show notes.
Show notes.
And there's a home audition for him for The Revenant that he did 8 years ago. I don't know if you say Revenant or Revenant. Isn't that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio?
I think it's Revenant, or I don't know. I'm not sure.
All right. Well, he's just as goofy as he is as his character in the series in these clips of his. But I'll go ahead and link all of that for you guys in the show notes.
Show notes.
In the series, Gadd plays himself, but he goes by Donnie Dunn. The names of all the characters in the series were changed to protect anonymity. Supposedly, this was in an attempt to prohibit the exploitation of a stalker, rapist, and other characters in the show. But of course, people are going to dig and sleuth around. We're curious by nature. Did Gadd really think that people were not going to find out, or at least speculate?
That's what I thought.
Exactly. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Gadd said that if he wanted the real-life people to be found, then he would have made it a documentary, and that people just need to stop looking and accept this as a form of art that is based on a true story. What's your take on that mindset, Jose?
I don't know. I mean, in a way, I kind of see his point, because when you're kind of making yourself vulnerable like that, you kind of don't want to bring attention to a lot of the negative things. Like you want to bring attention to the life or whatever. And like those negative things are kind of like things that happen. And maybe he brings them up for comedic value. I mean, I'm not sure how he used that because I still have no idea what the fuck baby reindeer is. But at the same time, like if you really don't want something like that to be known, why even bring it up at all, you know?
That's kind of what I was thinking. If you don't want people to go digging around, then don't say it's a true story and just kind of do your art. And then people don't have to go digging around. But that's pretty much what he did. I mean, he went out there, he said it's a true story. And so when the series begins, right in the very beginning, it clearly indicates by text, quote, "This is a true story." So if you guys watch the series, you would recognize that sound. In an interview with The Guardian on April 18th, 2024, Gadd says the following, quote, "While chronology and some events have been tweaked slightly to create dramatic climaxes, it's very emotionally true, obviously. I was severely stalked and severely abused, but we want it to exist in the sphere of art as well as protect the people it's based on. But before we get into all the juicy stuff, let me summarize the series for you, which is going to be quite lengthy, but I don't want to leave out any of the important details because I will be bringing them up later. For those of you who haven't watched it yet, spoiler alerts up ahead. Also, let me preface this by saying that this episode includes topics such as rape and sexual assault that may be difficult for some listeners. Listeners' discretion is advised. So let me set the scene. Donnie Dunn, a struggling comedian and bartender, is working his shift at the local watering hole when a lady by the name of Martha comes in and sits at the bar. Dunn can't help but notice that this lady looks visibly upset. He offers her tea, and she replies that she cannot afford it, so he gives it to her on the house. This sparked something in Martha. It made her feel seen and special. She develops a very strong attachment to Dunn and starts coming into the bar every day to chit-chat with Dunn, often complimenting him and giving him cutesy nicknames like Baby Reindeer or Little Nipple. She also tells him...
I think she was after the free tea.
I think so too. Not just the beverage, but the gossip. Aye.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about it like that.
She also tells him that she is a lawyer and that she has a lot of high-profile clients. However, Dunn can't comprehend how she cannot afford a cup of tea. The other bartenders banter with Dunn and Martha and accuse Dunn of not introducing them to his girlfriend, i.e. Martha, which makes her all giddy and shit. One of them asks, "When are you two going to shag?" And he responds, "Well, I don't believe in sex before marriage." So they continue to try and humiliate Dunn and ask, "Well, what are you waiting for? Ask her." And Martha replies that she is marriage material and he would hit the jackpot by marrying her and that all she needs done is for someone to hang her curtains. Dunn thinks this to be a sexual innuendo for something else.
That's what I think too.
Yeah. But because he's trying to get out of the situation, he jokingly says, "I'll hang your curtains." And everyone in the pub roars with laughter. So obviously it was a sexual innuendo. He waits for her to laugh along too, but at that moment he realizes that she took it seriously. As the series continues, we notice that Dunn is very much like Martha. He too feels lonely and unseen. So he starts to look forward to her appearances at the bar. I suppose Martha got the wrong idea and she developed the story in her head that she and Dunn were an item. She starts stalking him heavily online and at his comedy shows where he would perform as a comedian. She even goes as far as stalking his parents and the woman that he is sort of dating.
Oh, shit.
I know. Dunn does some stalking himself and discovers that Martha is a serial stalker, once threatening a man's blind kid, and yet another time also stalking a cop.
Well, the cop part is justifiable, but continue.
The episodes go back and forth with the past and present. We find out that Dunn is going through some shit and he's having a hard time coming to terms with it. You see, when he first moved to London to start his comedy career, he met an older man who just so happened to be a TV writer named Darian. Dunn enters into this relationship with him in the hopes that Darian helps him publish a script for him. What he didn't know is that Darian is a predator, and it was only the beginning of some pretty intense grooming. This guy drugs him every which way he can. You name it, I'm sure they tried it.
Shit.
Yeah. Dunn couldn't help but wonder if Darian was even taking the drugs, often presenting himself as taking much lower doses. My guess is that this was a way to make him unconscious enough to be able to grope, molest, and rape him. And although Dunn is disgusted and appalled, he keeps going back in the hopes that this guy will publish his script for a comedy show he has pitched to him earlier, until he finally stops going because he can no longer endure the abuse.
That's super fucked up. So was that the relationship of the person that he was seeing before meeting this Martha character? Or?
No, this is actually before meeting Martha. So he arrives to London to start a comedy career. And while he's in the pubs doing his thing, this guy just happens to be in the audience. And he takes like a liking to him. And he's all, hey, you know, I'm a writer or producer or something, and I can help you out with your act. Which he does. Like in the series, you see them going out together, but as friends. And he's helping him get his show together and getting it to be funnier and people to actually show up to his shows. Because people, I guess at the time, were just not into his type of dark comedy, even though he thought that's what London needed. So this is way before he meets Martha.
Oh, okay. So who was the person that he was seeing before Martha?
The one that I said that Martha sort of stalks?
No, you had said that that he was seeing somebody also.
Well, I'm going to get into sort of on it right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when he no longer goes back to this guy because he can't endure the abuse anymore, he goes towards a downhill spiral. He questions everything he has known and felt all this time. He often frequents these shady-ass places to have sex with strangers, men and women alike, in an attempt to discover his newfound sexuality. This is how he ends up meeting a trans woman, Terry, that he falls for under a false identity that he created because he was so ashamed. So Dunn was in a relationship prior to this lady, Terry, but they broke up and he ends up living with his mother. I mean, with her mother, I'm sorry. Before all of the abuse, he was heterosexual. He didn't know that he had any homosexual tendencies until this guy started doing those things to him. He starts to play with the idea that maybe he is gay. And so he starts going to these like shady ass places, hooking up with guys, and then he'll hook up with girls. And he's just very confused about his sexuality. But while he's doing all of that, he signs up like for one of those dating services. And he ends up finding this trans woman, all while he is no longer in that previous relationship with the other girl that he was with, because she left, she moved on, she's in college or she's going on with her life. But she felt like Dunn wasn't doing anything with his life, so that's why she left him. But he ended up staying with her mother and living at her mother's house.
Which is very weird.
It is very weird, which he does mention. But also, all of this happens in his 20s. So he's very young. He's still trying to figure out life, you know?
Okay.
So then he is meeting this trans woman, Terry, at this bar. It's very darkly lit. It's very far away from his normal stomping grounds in an effort to keep things under wraps. As he continues to fall harder for Terry and Martha's stalking intensifies, Dunn realizes that he should warn her about his stalker, in which Terry urges him to go to the police to report this mentally ill woman. So Terry also happens to be like a psychiatrist or a psychologist. She has some kind of psychology degree. Reluctantly, he agrees, and now we're back to the present, where he is standing in front of a police officer at a police station, wanting to press charges and request a restraining order. At this point, it's been 6 months of Martha tirelessly stalking and harassing Dunn.
Damn, poor dude.
Yeah. But wait, there's more. After a little bit of the back and forth and some mindfuckery, including the time that Dunn had a meltdown on stage while performing a comedy routine and telling the entire world about his abuse and rape, and thanks to some person who uploaded that to YouTube, everyone got to see Dunn's meltdown. This was actually a good thing for Dunn, though. He got the fame that he was yearning for, and for the first time, he felt seen and wanted. And in some ways, it was therapy for everything he had held in all of those years. So then after this routine or this meltdown, Martha's finally arrested, charged, and sentenced to 9 months in prison. And this is what she's accused of. 41,071 emails, 350 hours of voicemails.
Oh, God.
744 tweets, 46 Facebook messages, 4 fake Facebook accounts, 106 pages of letters, and the way Richard Gadd likes to end it with, 1 cup of tea.
Oh, shit.
Because it all started with that cup of tea that he offered her.
That sucks, man. Poor guy.
Yeah. At the end of the series, we are left with Dunn finding an old copy of the manuscript that he had given to Darian months back, or I guess it might have been years. It's kind of hard to tell within the series. And guess what Dunn does with that?
He burns it.
He does not burn it. He goes back to his abuser and pays him a visit.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so Darian admits to Dunn that he watched the meltdown, and he calls Dunn brave. And then he suggests that they should collaborate once again. And guess what Dunn says?
Yes, of course. That doesn't sound like a bad idea at all.
Well, I guess we'll find out after a short ad break.
If you like true crime, dark history, the haunted and paranormal, then we think you'll like Ghost Town.
Ghost Town is hosted by me, Rebecca Lieb.
And me, Jason Horton.
We cover both notorious and obscure true crimes,
The haunted, paranormal, and unexplained.
and the dark history of everything from world events to pop culture.
There are new episodes of Ghost Town every Wednesday and Friday.
Find out for yourself what Vulture.com called essential listening and one listener called a total waste of time.
So pause the podcast you're listening to right now.
And go subscribe to Ghost Town for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And at ghosttownpod.com.
Hey, this is Smith from The Story Of. Join myself and my co-hosts Mike, Camp, Bill, and Joe on an exhilarating journey through the unknown, the bizarre, and the extraordinary. Every week we delve into a new topic armed with individual research and a passion for storytelling. But folks, here's the twist. We share nothing that we have found with each other until we meet up to record. We're going to uncover conspiracies from the Montauk Project to alien encounters with U.S. presidents. We'll peel back the layers of mystery and expose the truth, or at least our best theories. Weird history unearthed, forgotten tales, unsolved mysteries, and historical oddities, from out-of-place artifacts to history's weirdest jobs. We got sports sagas. Dive into the stories behind iconic teams' names and scandals that rock the sports world. Join us for Beyond the Ordinary. From Bigfoot to time travel, we'll explore the fringes of reality and challenge what you think you knew. So grab your headphones, settle in, and let Smith's wit, Mike's curiosity, Camp's skepticism, Bill's enthusiasm, and Joe's dry humor guide you through The Story Of, where we have found that there's more to history than what's in the books. Available on all major platforms. Subscribe now and let the stories begin.
And we're back.
We're back.
Did you send 41,000 emails while we were on break, Little Nipple?
I sent them all to you. Blue Panda, or what was it? Little Reindeer?
Little Reindeer? Blue Panda. All right, so before the break, I had asked what you thought Dunn did after this guy asked him if they should collaborate. And you said...
Yes, of course. This does not sound like a bad idea at all. Let's do it.
You can give yourself a little bing, because you're correct. Dunn reluctantly agrees after Darian offers him a paid position and a chance to work on a TV pilot.
Directly with him.
Exactly. All right, so now that we have a sense of what this show is about, why don't we talk about what really happened? So by now you should all be aware that we love to uncover the truth about alleged circumstances like UFO abductions or being possessed by the devil. How much of this, Jose, do you think is true, and what parts were inflated so that it was entertaining to a television audience?
I would say the general gist of what happened was probably true, but I think all the other details were probably embellished a bit, like the 7,000 emails or whatever.
We'll see. Now, before I get into all the speculations that are out there, keep in mind that all these details are barely coming into light. Originally, when I first began researching all things Baby Reindeer, details were limited. Then I took my brief hiatus, and when I resumed writing for this episode, a lot more information was out there. Let me start by giving a shout out to all the internet sleuths out there who spent countless hours stalking people online to find out their true identities.
Doxing all these poor people.
Yeah, exactly. It's been uncovered that the real-life Martha is a Scottish woman by the name of Fiona Harvey. This has been confirmed by her, but not Gadd. People have gone as far as screenshotting dozens of tweets and Facebook posts in an effort to prove Fiona is Martha's real-life persona. I will link the X account, which was formerly known as Twitter, I found with the screenshots in our show notes.
Show notes.
Additionally, there is a YouTube video by The Sun who claimed to have copies of Fiona's letter to Keir Starmer, another alleged victim. It is being reported that Fiona sent Starmer almost 300 emails.
So he obviously loved Dunn more than Starmer or whatever.
For sure. I will also link those videos in our show notes.
Show notes.
Speaking about show notes, the last episode that you and Isela did, you were talking about how when people in a podcast say show notes now, you always go, show notes.
Yes.
And I've caught myself doing that too.
I wonder if any of our super friends do that, like they're on the bus or something and they hear us say show notes and then they're like, show notes. And they're like, oh shit, like people are just looking at them like they're weirdos or something.
I know. I don't know. That would be very interesting. You guys should definitely let us know. Because I know I find myself doing that when I hear other podcasts or even when I listen to like you and Isela, show notes.
You know when I find myself doing that? When I'm listening to Nothing Much Happens, which is the sleep podcast that I normally listen to. And then she'll always say, oh, this happens in the show notes. And I'm like, show notes. I was like, oh shit, there's nobody here to listen to me. Hopefully Fiona isn't stalking me.
Aren't you supposed to be falling asleep?
Yeah, but it normally takes me like 15 minutes, so I don't normally fall asleep until she starts it again the second time, and she's speaking very slowly.
Ah, okay, gotcha. She doesn't go, show notes.
She does not know.
Okay.
I think if she did that, that would kind of like bring me back to reality, and I probably wouldn't do it.
Oh, okay. All right. So this lady, Fiona, she alleges that after being found out, she has received more than a dozen death threats. However, she has not shown any proof. In an interview with Piers Morgan on Piers Morgan's Uncensored, Fiona Harvey is interviewed in an attempt to give her side of the details. And just some random fact or whatever stupid thing, I thought Piers Morgan was Pierce Morgan, kind of like Pierce Brosnan.
You know, when you said that, the first thing that came to my mind was Pierce Bronson or whatever his name is. The guy that was James Bond for like 2 movies.
Yeah. But it's actually Piers, like a pier, like a beach pier or whatever. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Pier 1 Imports. Yeah. I was like writing it and Google kept on, because I use Google Docs, and it kept on trying to correct me from Pierce to Piers. And I was like, why are you doing Piers? And then when I looked it up, I was like, oh, Google knows more than I do. Google Docs knows more than I do.
I also use Google Docs to write my scripts. We have so much in common. We should be friends.
We are brothers and friends.
Oh, okay.
Just don't be my crazy stalker.
Nah, ain't nobody got time to do that.
Yeah, I know. Nobody got time. In an hour-long show full of lies, with the same questions being asked over and over again, including a lot of interrupting, if you want to hear the best parts and skip the entire cringy interview, I got you, super friends. In conjunction to this interview, I also watched a mentalist who likes to go by Spidey, has a degree in sociology and psychology.
And web slinging.
Yes. Certifications in criminal interrogations and body language analysis, and over 10 years of experience as an award-winning mentalist, scrutinized the entire interview. Because I watched the Netflix series, I was able to pick up on several inconsistencies, but it was interesting to watch an expert weigh in on her body language, something that I'm not trained to do. The first observation that I noticed is that she could not stick to one version of events. For example, when Fiona was questioned about watching the drama, she answered, not at all, and that she had heard about the court scene and the sentencing, but she's not watched the show. Later in the interview, without being provoked, she states that she's never groped Gadd in the canal like it was portrayed in the show. She never lunged at him, and she certainly never went to jail. So, if she never watched the show, how did she know about these scenes?
I kind of believe her because I think if she's that busy stalking somebody, I don't think she has any time to watch any Netflix shows. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, if she got the scenes right, does that mean that she actually did stalk him and those instances did actually happen?
Who knows?
Exactly. Fiona goes on to explain that 5 years ago, she saw Gadd on the BBC News as she was flipping through channels one day. Let's hear her account of that day.
Have you watched the drama?
Not at all. I've heard about the court scene, about the jail sentences and all this sort of stuff.
But you really haven't watched any of it?
I haven't watched any of it.
When did you know that you were the person being depicted in this?
5 years ago on BBC Breaking News, I saw Mr. Gadd had written a play for the Edinburgh Festival, and he was holding up placards, MP's wife, stalker, and all of this, and he called it Baby Reindeer. That's all I knew. And I thought, well, I've only met this guy 2 or 3 times. I don't know him. And left it at that. I should have possibly jumped it at that stage.
Now, in contradiction to what we just listened to, let's hear what she says about that same memory, but now with a lot more detail.
Listen, I've been a journalist 40 years. I could have discovered it was you in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Once I'd watched
Yes,
that.
I agree. I discovered it was me when I saw the BBC Breaking News Baby Reindeer show at the Edinburgh Festival, when I was Googling up just the news that day or the weather or something, and this came up, and he was holding up a placard or a newspaper article, MP's wife stalker. All you need to do is Google that. Then I saw the name of the show and I thought, bloody hell, what's he up to? And I tried to get a friend to go see the show because she was based in Edinburgh, but she was on holiday. Nobody I know had seen that show either. So I was really shocked. I was very upset for 2-3 days.
So what are your initial thoughts about this?
Bloody hell. What's this guy up to?
Were you able to catch everything? Because I know I had to listen to it a few times because of the accent, but were you able to catch everything that she said?
I wasn't. To me, it pretty much sounded like she was just doubling down on the original soundbite that you showed.
Yeah, so in the first soundbite, she says, I've only met him 2 or 3 times. The only thing I saw is that he was holding the sign up, and I was just like, what is this guy up to? But then the second soundbite, she goes on to say that she told her friend to go and check out the show and that she was miserable for like 2 days or whatever after that, and that she knew it was about her because of the Baby Reindeer reference and also being a stalker. Pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm a guy, so I only listen to the meat and potatoes of a conversation. I don't listen to all the sides normally.
That might explain why Piers Morgan, I was going to say Piers Brosnan. Why Piers Morgan interrupted her so many times.
Maybe, yeah.
So personally, I think that she was probably Googling RIchard Gadd just to see what he was up to, and that's how she stumbled on the news article. I find it interesting that this made her very upset for a few days from someone who claims that she doesn't even know the guy, yet baby reindeer was a reference to her. So if she had only met him 2 or 3 times, they already had this inside joke of baby reindeer. I don't know. I just find that a little hard to believe at this point of the interview.
Maybe she calls all potential suitors baby reindeer. Maybe it's like a shorthand so that way she doesn't have to remember their names. Like I call all my dates purple banana, just so that way I don't have to remember what their names are.
Oh my goodness. Purple banana.
I don't know. It was the first thing that came to my mind.
That doesn't even sound cute. What's up there, purple banana?
My brain works in mysterious ways. I'm still trying to figure that out.
That's interesting. Actually, maybe she does reference all her stalkers as baby reindeer, but in the episode or in the series, there is a voicemail where Martha leaves Dunn an explanation as to why she refers to him as baby reindeer. And I'm pretty sure that I get into that later on. So we'll go back to that.
We'll circle back to it.
It's a circle. Now, going back to not being able to stick to one version of events, Piers references the show several times throughout the interview. The odd thing is that Fiona never once looks confused or asks Piers, like, really, that was part of the show? Like any reference that he makes about the show, she has a prompt response to. Let's take a listen.
It says in the show that you proceeded to return to the same pub time and again, but you never paid for a drink.
I don't drink alcohol. And
did you pay for anything that you had in the pub?
Lemonade or soft drinks.
Would he give you free drinks? Or?
No, absolutely not. This is sort of a depiction of me as a pauper who wouldn't stand around or stand a drink. It's nonsense.
It says that you told Richard Gadd that he looked like a baby reindeer toy you once had as a child, hence the name of the show.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I appear to have written most of the show in my sleep. I dressed
Did you have a baby reindeer
I
toy?
had a toy reindeer.
So that's true.
And he'd shaved his head. That bit is true. And there were reindeers in the shops. It was Christmas time or something. It was a joke. So I have inadvertently penned the name of the show.
Right. But that is true.
That's true. That's a true fact.
I think she should be getting royalties since she named the show.
I kind of do discuss that a little bit later, but I guess I could say that now. As far as I know, she's actually trying to sue Netflix and Gadd for royalties. And she actually is trying to sue Piers Morgan too, because apparently this interview that she made with him garnered way much more money, and he only paid her like whatever they agreed to. And he ended up making like so much more out of it just because everybody's so interested in the story. So she wants more, obviously. But going back to what she was saying about baby reindeer, I think it's funny that she gives herself credit for inadvertently writing the show in her sleep and coming up with the title. In fact, she kind of seems proud of it. At least that's what I'm getting out of that. And then she was quick to say that she doesn't drink alcohol when Piers references in the show that she returned to the pub time and time again and never paid for a drink. In fact, in the show, she only orders a Diet Coke with extra ice and never actually drinks it. So we already know that she isn't a drinker. She was just frequenting the pub because of Gadd/Dunn. And then the part of the baby reindeer that she says that he shaved its head, I have no idea what the heck that was about. I don't know if you caught that in the clip.
I think she meant that he had shaved his head, Gant or Dunn or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
He had shaved his head so he kind of looked like a baby reindeer. And since it was around Christmas time, there were reindeers everywhere. So it was kind of like in her mind. So that's where she came up with the name.
Oh, okay. I totally did not understand. I'm like, who shaved their head? I understood that he shaved her baby reindeer's head. Like, I guess like she had a doll with the reindeer and he shaved the head. And I was like, what? Okay, that makes more sense what you're saying.
Actually, I think her shaving a stuffed baby reindeer makes more sense. No, I'm just kidding.
What? Okay, well, according to the show, Martha had a baby reindeer when she was little, and she would cuddle with it whenever, quote, they would fight, and they would fight a lot. I imagine they are referring to her parents. In a voicemail she left Gadd about the baby reindeer, she compares him to it, explaining that they both have the same eyes, nose, and wee bum. So that is why she referred to him as baby reindeer because she saw him in this little stuffed animal that she owned as a kid that would comfort her when her parents were fighting.
And every time you say baby reindeer, it reminds me of, I don't know if you remember, I'm not sure if it was you or our brother who had it was like a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer stuffed animal. That's kind of what it reminds me of.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, Ponchito had it. Now, remember in the beginning of the top of the show, we were talking about hang your curtains?
How could I forget?
Yeah, it was the sexual innuendo.
Which I still don't understand, but...
All right, well, in the interview, she has 3 different variations of that story. First, she states that it was simply banter. Then she changes her story and states that it was a way for them to encourage Gadd because it was his, quote, first show or something like that. And towards the end of the interview, Piers finally asks Fiona if she was in love with Gadd, and she answers, well, let's take a listen.
You're in love with him?
Yes. Is that a serious question?
Yeah.
No.
It's not a question of... By his own admission, he has said that he led you on at times. And he clearly
I gave him the brush off. He asked me to sleep with him with a big green spot in his face one day. I said, no, I'm sorry, I'm not interested.
He asked you to do what?
He asked me to sleep with him. He said, would I like my curtains fixed? And I laughed. And he said, that's a euphemism. Do you want me to come home with you? And I said, I've got a boyfriend. I gave him the brush off big time, I think.
What's your take on that?
I don't know. I don't know which one to believe because I've never seen this show.
I don't know. It just seems all of a sudden she has a boyfriend, which, I mean, in the TV series, she lived alone. She seemed to be like a hoarder and maybe like a dirty person, like nobody that, well, I guess a hoarder, I don't want to say that they're dirty, but they kind of like tend to buy like brand new plates and stuff so they don't have to wash their plates. So they just end up like adding to their collection of stuff. And so that's kind of what her house looks like. But all of a sudden, like in this interview, she's saying, no, I wasn't interested. I had a boyfriend. And she talks about a green spot on his face. I don't know what that was all about. But honestly, I still tend to believe what Gadd is saying. But I know you haven't watched the series yet, which you should.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if she did stalk him that much, maybe he is right. Maybe, she was the one that kind of made the moves first. But I mean, I really don't know.
Yeah, so in the series, she keeps on referencing hanging the curtains, saying like, you need to come hang my curtains. And when are you going to come hang my curtains? And
was it hang the curtains or fix the curtains? Because she said fix the curtains in this interview.
Yeah, she said fix the curtains. And in the series, it's hang the curtains.
So did the curtains need to be hanged or fixed?
I don't know. I don't know how they do it in London. Because sometimes some of their words mean something differently than, they use different words than we do. So I don't know.
No, I'm just being dumb.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if it was fix or hang, but in the series it's hang. Maybe because for Americans it's hang curtains, and maybe in London it's fix curtains. Like I'm fixing to go right now. I'm fixing to leave.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that talks like that.
Texans do that, but like the southern Texans down south, like more south.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I know some people that do actually speak like that. In the interview, Piers acknowledges that 41,000 emails, 350 voice messages, 744 tweets, 48 Facebook messages, and 106 letters were allegedly sent by her. And she answers that this is simply not true, and that someone would have to be sending lots of emails obsessively to be able to accomplish that amount. To which Piers responds, quote, what did you send him? And she replies, quote, I don't think I sent him anything. I think there may have been a couple of emails exchanging jokey and banter emails. Let's listen to the rest of this.
Netflix have said that these details are the real ones. That this is exactly
completely incorrect.
So you're denying sending anything to him?
There may have been a couple of emails.
Text messages?
No.
Facebook messages?
No.
Did you tweet him?
I may have done years and years ago.
You actually tweeted him numerous times.
No, it wasn't numerous. It was about 18 tweets there or 14
It's quite a
tweets.
lot to someone who's not that well known.
But we were all friends. You know, it was banter.
Right, but it establishes
Yeah.
you were contacted. That's in public.
Yes, I mean, this. Did
you write him letters?
Public, no. I think when I saw the rape interview, that's actually incorrect. What I said there, when I saw that in the Guardian, I said, "What a shame! It's not your fault." Something
You
like
did
that.
write to him?
One later.
Are you aware that if it was you sending those emails, it would be very easy for the police, for example, to work out exactly where they come from? That the IP address would reveal
Yes,
that.
I understand that, and it stays on forever. But the point is, this was years and years ago. We were congratulating him.
But it would all still be there.
Yes, I understand that. Yeah.
And if you sent 41,000 emails,
This is just a lot of rubbish. Yeah, so that should be stored there.
well, they'd all be there.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's probably a police report where you can go look at the police report and see what was on there. And unless she went back and she had the wherewithal to delete her tweets, that's something that anybody could see also. So I don't know why she's trying to deny it if it is indeed true.
Yeah. And then even if you hear her, like her story changes within the same sentence. Did you send him anything? No, nothing at all. So nothing at all? Well, maybe a letter. Oh, okay. Well, maybe a few tweets. Oh, how many? I don't know, 18. Like all of a sudden she goes from no to maybe to yes to a number.
Yeah, she's very frustrating to listen to. I get PTSD from past relationships when I hear her. So I don't know. I feel like triggered sometimes when I hear her say stuff.
Oh, no. Well, she's Scottish. None of the people that you dated were Scottish.
No, but I mean, they would say like similar things when confronted.
Oh, fun. I think I know who you might be talking about.
Yeah, let's not try and guess.
No. All right. So earlier I mentioned that Martha was a serial stalker. In the series, Dunn reads several news articles about Martha's previous stalkings. One happened to be a previous employer. At this point of the interview, Piers asks Fiona about working for Lawrence law firm. She corrects him about the name of the employer, and she even goes as far as to say, quote, I think she forgets the name of her own law firm. It's called L&L Lawrence. She tells Piers that she was lured away from another job and that this lady, Laura Ray, headhunted her from another firm because she needed someone to do employment law and that she's pretty good at doing employment law. Piers then reads that the owner had to fire Fiona because she did not know how to behave herself. And Fiona refutes this by saying that they really were rude to her and that, quote, half of the Labour Party had been up there at one point or another and walked. Interestingly, she admits to have a sour relationship with Laura, but she absolutely denies the stalking. So we actually have Laura here today. Laura, how are you? And thank you very much for joining us today. No, I'm just kidding. We don't have Laura. All right. I didn't reach out to her for a comment, but she was interviewed in an article on Yahoo by Peter Hart and the Tom Bryant, dated May 11th, 2024. Laura shares her story and recalls the 5 horrific years that she and her family were stalked by Fiona. Basically, this lady's PTSD is igniting full force, kind of like yours is right now. Laura is claiming that Fiona, the woman who recently outed herself as the character from Baby Reindeer, has been recently bombarding her with abusive online messages. Laura recalls that after Fiona's brief employment at her law firm, she was fired due to abusive behavior and then later accused her of harming her disabled child to social services. So in retaliation, Fiona accused Laura of harming her disabled child to social services. And this was like years later after being fired. So this lady, Laura, was kind of like, why after so many years is this lady coming after me and then making these false allegations? So she believes that she's being featured indirectly in the show via a fictional newspaper article with the headline, Sick Stalker Targets Barrister's Deaf Child. Towards the end of the series, Martha goes into the pub where Dunn is working and is mocking him and his comedy routine to another patron. And she tells him, the patron, to Google his act. So he does. And then both Martha and this guy are laughing at Dunn and his ridiculous routine. Dunn has just about had enough of Martha and tells the patron to Google serial stalker torments barrister's deaf child. And then this is where she goes completely hysterical. She breaks a glass on his face, tries to gouge out his eyes with her thumbs.
Oh, shit.
Yes. And in order to get away from her grasp from across the bar, he punches her in the face. And then she yells at him that he's ruined everything. And then she tries to lunge at him one more time, and then 2 men escort her out of the bar. And then after that occurrence is when they show like the sentencing of her going to jail for all the craziness that she did. But in fact, she has said that she never went to jail. And Gadd has even said that was one of the parts that they embellished for the viewership, but that this lady didn't go to jail for any of this.
Did he even press charges?
You know, that's a good question. I believe that he did press charges and he did go to the police. And that's how he found out that Martha/Fiona had been stalking a police officer because of previous arrests. Because apparently she has been arrested for stalking before in the past. And I guess the officer that was trying to get her arrested or doing the detective work behind it, she ended up stalking him. So then, I don't know. It's just crazy.
Everybody was stalked, in other words.
Yeah, anybody that she felt any kind of a attachment towards, whether it was negative or positive, she would just stalk them. I don't know. If I was Piers Morgan, I would worry.
Yeah, he's next.
Yeah. So when Piers brings up the voice messages, all 355 of them, she first refutes by saying, well, Gadd must have been recording me at Holy Arms, which is the name of the bar that she frequently stalked him at. He then replies, well, if he has voicemail messages of you, and it is you on those messages, how can you explain that? Here, I want you to listen to what she says.
Voice messages he's kept apparently, and there
He
is
was maybe taping me in the Holy Arms. I don't know if he's got any voicemail.
But if he has 350 voice messages and it's you,
it doesn't mean the drama is true.
but is it possible he's got 350 voice
I
messages?
doubt that very much. I just don't think so.
You doubt it?
Yeah, I doubt it. I mean, unless
Wouldn't
he's
you
been
be
taping me.
I mean, if you've never really contacted him, if he's
He
got
could have been taping me in the Holy Arms, though.
but if he's got 350
I've not contacted
but if these
him.
are on his phone.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether they're on a phone, tablet, whatever they're on. I've not contacted
But I'm curious,
him.
why would there even be a possibility of him having that number of voice messages from you?
Because he's crazy, he wants to make this up. I mean, I've not phoned the guy. I don't have his number. I mean, my point is, though, even if that were true, I didn't lunge at him across the bar. I didn't sexually assault him in a canal. I didn't go to jail.
I understand. Your point that are you challenging him to reveal this evidence?
No, I would challenge him to leave me alone.
Because you're calling him a liar and you're calling Netflix accomplice.
I didn't
these
use
lies.
those words. I said the story and the play, the Netflix show is not true. Even if the email thing was true, the rest is not. So
why would you qualify that, Fiona?
Sorry, why would I what?
Why would you suddenly qualify even if it's true about the emails?
I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Right, but when you say even if the emails were true,
I didn't send him 41.
It doesn't mean the more serious stuff is.
All right. So what did you think about that?
I don't know what to think anymore.
Still PTSD?
Yeah, well, I hate how she always tries to, like, I don't know if she's like trying to correct herself or she's trying to reword things in a different way, especially when he's like, oh, well, maybe they should release the evidence. Oh, no, well, I never said that. So, yeah, that is very frustrating. And now I feel like I have no reason to watch the show at all because I feel like I know exactly what happens.
My favorite part is when Piers asks, so are you challenging him to show the evidence? And she's like, no, no, I'm challenging him to leave me alone. I was like, damn, that no was like quick. The weird thing is that she claims that maybe Gadd was secretly taping her here and there. But there's a couple of things that bother me about that. Why would a recording of her sound like a voicemail? Again, she had said she had only met him 2 or 3 times. So how could he have so many recordings of her? And then another big one is, Why wouldn't she challenge him for proof of these recordings if she insists that they don't exist?
No, that is a good point, because I think if somebody was trying to slander me, I would say, okay, show me the proof. Kind of like Tobey Maguire's show me the evidence, but, oh no, it's Jerry Maguire. Jerry Maguire's show me the money, but show me the proof.
I was wondering where you were going with that. I was like, what did you say right now? Not Jerry Maguire. You said the wrong Maguire. Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, who the hell's Tobey Maguire?
He's Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
He's the guy that plays Spider-Man.
And coincidentally, he was also the Mentalist that you watched.
Oh, Spidey.
Spidey, there you go.
It was Spidey. Spidey senses.
It all came back full circle.
Yeah, that's what we do. All right, well, I'm going to start wrapping this up because it is getting kind of long, but I do want to bring up another one of her inconsistencies. This will be the last soundbite.
A law degree.
Continues, yeah.
Law degree. So you're obviously very bright. How did you do at school?
I've got a photographic memory. I was top of the school, apart from the science.
And with your law degree, what grade did you get?
Not bad. I mean, right.
What was it?
I just did an ordinary degree and then a diploma in legal practice.
Well,
and I did a
what grades did you
politics
get
degree. All right grades. I mean, not top of the year or anything.
No,
but
but
all right
you get
grades.
when you do a degree, you get a...
Yeah, you're asking me what marks I got for 13 subjects. I can't remember.
On next week's episode of Technically a Conversation. On February 9th, 1874, Alfred G. Packard left the Ute Native American campsite near Montrose, Colorado, to catch up with a group of 4 men who had left a week earlier to travel to a government cattle camp near Gunnison, Colorado. Packard organized a group of 5 men to take the journey with him. On April 16th, 1874, Packard arrived at the cattle camp alone, looking surprisingly fit for a man who had just completed a 2-month winter trek through the Rocky Mountains. When asked what happened to the rest of his party, Packard claimed his feet got wet and frozen, and the men abandoned him. After a short stay at the cattle camp, Packard accompanied 2 other men to Sawatch, Colorado. While on his trip, Packard was seen using a skinning knife that belonged to one of the men from his missing party and had a large sum of money that he was spending freely. This made the other 2 men wonder what had really happened to the missing men from Packard's party. Had they been murdered, or did they meet a more gruesome fate? New episodes drop Monday. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss a show.